Let's start building the shed object. And since the shed object is hexagonal in shape, so it's a good idea to start creating an n-gun. So go to the create shapes and click the n-gun button. In the top viewport, click and drag to create an n-gun whose radius is 6.5. And then click the select and move tool to move this n-gun. With the right mouse click on the spinners next to Y to turn it to 0, and then change the X value to 20. Now click the rotate tool and rotate it minus 30 degrees. And since the shed should be sloped, we are going to use the loft as a method of creation as to benefit from its scale deformation tool. So let's create a line which is going to be the path for the loft, and let's create the line this time by using the keyboard entry. So make sure that the front viewport is the current viewport and change the value of X to 30. Click add point and then change the Y value to 4, and then click add point and then right mouse click to end the command. And now click the select by name button and choose the n-gun you have just created. Go to the create geometry and click the compound object, loft, get path because we're already selecting the shape, and select this line. Now we have a third created object called loft01. Change the name to shed. Let's position the shed object, so make sure that you are still selecting it, and then click the align tool, and in the front view just click to select one of the long columns. We need to adjust the height position of this shed. Since the reference coordinate system is set to view, and since the current view is the front view, so the height is expressed by the Y position. So uncheck the X position and uncheck this Z position, and actually we need the lowest part of this shed to be aligned with the highest part of the columns. So click the minimum with the maximum and then click OK. We need to add slope to the shed object, so go to the modify panel, expand the deformations rollout, click the scale button, and then range the scale deformation window so that we can see both the graph and the shed object in the perspective view. Actually, we are in front of a graph. The vertical value presents the scale values and the horizontal values tells me where I am in the path. So for instance, if I try to increase the scale value in the beginning of the path, you can see this reflected in your object. Click the undo button. Now we can add extra points here to play with the scale along the path. So go ahead and click the insert corner points and click to add points. Click the move button and start by moving these points. Go ahead and change the value of scale along the path. Until you are satisfied with the results. Okay, close the scale deformation window. Now if we just rotate the perspective, we find that the shed needs to be hollow. Now we need to make this shed hollow, so click the select by name button and select the angle, which we used it originally when we created the loft object. And then go to the modify panel and expand the modifier list. Click the E button on your keyboard to reach the edit spline modifier. Click enter. And then go to the spline level and click the outline button and type 0.5, press enter. Now it is hollow, as you see. Okay. If you rotate the perspective view, you'll find that there is a hole in the shed, and of course we have to close this hole. So click the select by name button in the toolbar and select the shed object by double clicking it, and then make sure that you are in the modify panel. Go down in the deformation rollout and click the scale button, and then move this point so that it closes the hole. Close the scale deformation window and then open the material editor, go to a free slot and then click the get material button. Make sure that the material library radio button is on, and then choose the wood shingle material. Double click its name and then close the material map browser. Assign this material to the shed object by clicking the assign material to selection, and then close the material editor. Make sure that you are still selecting the shed and you are in the modify panel. Go to the surface parameters rollout and then check the real world map size and then change the length repeat to 0.3 and width repeat 0.3. Okay. Now we have just finished creating the bridge. So go to the display panel and in the hide by category rollout, check the shapes to hide the shapes in your scene, and then in the top view just zoom out and select all the objects you have, and then go to the group menu and click the group and name this group bridge. Click the OK button and then go to the file and save your project. That's all for the bridge. In this exercise we learned how to create 3D objects by creating 2D shapes and then adding the extrude modifier like we did in the ground bridge object. We also learned how to clone objects and the difference between copy and instance. We learned how to break the links between instances by using the Make Unique button in the Modify panel. We learned how to adjust the mapping with objects having multiple slopes by using the Map Scaler modifier like we did in the bar objects, and how to position objects by using the Align tool like we did by repositioning the columns and the supports objects. We learned how to create 3D objects out of a shape and the path by using the Loft tool, and how to adjust the scaling along the path by using the deformation tools. And finally we learned how to group objects.